You're watching The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. Hello there, and welcome to the program. We're live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. I am Blessed Sogah, and coming up this afternoon, parents express worry over reports of food shortage in senior high schools across the country, following a viral footage on social media showing supposedly how some students are poorly fed on campus. There's more from the Education Ministry this afternoon, as the ministry is denying claims it is having difficulties in supplying foods, adding that all the challenges have been addressed.
And we know from the information, from the reports, from the engagement from CHARS, when we talk of CHARS, we are referring to the headmasters, giving us up-to-date information as to what they have received. There is no food shortage in any secondary school in this.
We have more on that coming up shortly. Also, immediate past national chairperson of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay, is coming under intense criticism as an alliance of party foot soldiers this afternoon and taking him on, accusing him of anti-party conduct. The grassroots want him to recuse himself from defending some Chinese nationals who are being prosecuted for engaging in illegal mining on the grounds that the standing and the status of Chairman Blay does not permit him to continue to defend these nationals.
Now, former chairman, to please look at the party's interests and then rescind your decision, because whatever you are doing, yes, professionally you are doing your work, but the public out there will not see it as such.
From the Alliance of Foot Soldiers of the New Patriotic Party, shortly plus junior staff of Metro Mass Transit Limited declaring a sit-down strike. We'll get you the latest on the concerns of the workers. It's all coming up here on The Pulse, and as more rains are expected in the coming days, we take you back to the Wejak municipality, which is recovering from recent flooding. This afternoon, we engage some residents on how they've been faring in the wake of the disaster. We'll get you the latest. This is JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Don't forget that we're also active on social media as at JoyNews on TV. We're streaming on YouTube as well. Feel free to be a part of the show. I am Blessed Sogah. Thanks for choosing us. We'll be back with the details. Let's start off with the fight against illegal mining. An alliance of the New Patriotic Party foot soldiers is this afternoon imploring the immediate past chairperson of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay, to reconsider his decision to enter appearance as defense counsel for 4 Chinese nationals standing trial, together with businesswoman Aisha Huang, over their alleged involvement in illegal mining. Freddie Blay earlier this morning told the Super Morning Show team on Joy 99.7 FM that his defense for the expatriates is solely born out of legal representation and the fact that these other accomplices are innocent.
We take instructions from our clients and we defend it to the best of our ability based on the law. Nothing else. Am I defending my clients before you or before the court? Don't just get up and make it look like as if when you are defending an individual or somebody who is arraigned before court, you are yourself guilty and you are asking me questions. Are they my friends? Do I come from China? Have I had any relationship with them? These are not relevant questions.
You are
if you want to say a politician who is a professional lawyer, who has a firm and have been instructed to not because he's a politician. NDC members are all, some of them, Baba Jamal and Co., they are all involved in defending, as lawyers, they are defending their Chinese individuals before the court. And you are asking me, because I am Freddie Blay and I am a member of a party, or I was a chairman of the party, me, I should not even be a defense counsel, or my firm should not take instructions from a client.
Mr. Blay, nobody
be he a murderer,
here has said that.
Accused subversionist, or a coup leader. Is that what you are saying?
Mr. Blay, nobody
here has said that. Is that the impression you want to create in this country, that lawyers should not defend clients?
So you heard from the chairperson, immediate past, I should say, of the New Patriotic Party. Here's jumping to the defense of these nationals, but a pro-New Patriotic Party group calling itself the Alliance for Foot Soldiers Advocacy they say that the social standing of Freddie Blay will not permit him to continue to hold himself out as a lawyer for these Chinese suspects. The group says such a move by the stalwarts of the New Patriotic Party is a direct slap on President Akufo-Addo's fight against illegal mining. So let's bring through now Kamal Amason Bruni, who happens to be spokesperson for the Alliance for Foot Soldiers Advocacy. Thank you, sir, for your time here on the poll. So I have to start off by asking you where the rights of these expatriates should be placed. You know that our laws guarantee the rights of every individual living in this country. So if you have a lawyer defending them in court, what's actually absurd about that? Kamal, you'd have to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear now.
All right. Yes. Responding to your question, AFA is not saying that the Chinese corporates are not entitled to any legal rights or any autonomy. No, that's not what we are saying. What our point is, the defense counsel involved is at the bin, because I had a soundbite you played of our former Chairman Blay trying to water it down. Chairman Blay is not anybody in society. His social standing, just as you said, makes thing about this defense is putting up for them to be a no-no for AFA. Because he's the lead counsel. Because yesterday they stood in brief for him, meaning he's the lead counsel because he wasn't present. So as the case progresses, he's going to take it up. And as somebody who's held position, the national chairmanship position, you should know that's what we call public interest. Sometimes, as a former chairman, you should know that there are decisions that people may want to take, but they look at the public reaction. And that's where the public interest comes in. Now, the government you belong to, for which you are a board chair of GNPC, but our former chairman Blay did not end the position by virtue of his competence. Yes, you have competence, but it is the government in power that gave it up to serve as a board chairman. So he shouldn't try to see himself or trying to dissociate himself from the fact that he's still an NPP person. Therefore, whatever you try to do that will tarnish the party's image should be of paramount interest to him as a former chairman. So he cannot, from the soundbite ahead, trying to make it seem as if he has the right. Nobody says he doesn't have the right as a legal practitioner. He has the right to. But how are you exercising that right, ignoring the fact that there's a public interest attached to the Galamsey issue, for which an end the media is addressing this Galamsey issue back and forth, and it's seen not to be ending.
If we place that on a balance, where do you put public opinion as opposed to the future of, some suspects? Where do you place all of that? Because obviously we know that the implication for not having representation to clearly state your case for you could make all of these suspects end up in jail. If indeed, and I'm assuming without admitting, that they are innocent, you're going to have a case where innocent persons may be sent to jail simply because they are not able to prove their case. So are you not, mindful of all of these things and the implications of what the case is, whilst you make this call for the chairperson of the New Patriotic Party to recuse himself?
I'll repeat this point again. That is not saying that they are not entitled to legal representation. That is not what AFA is saying. And I'll add the point to is that, but for Freddie Blay's firm and himself being involved in this issue, AFA wouldn't have had any issue. If they had sought the assistance of any legal firm, that would have been known it, because it's their right to legal representation. But the purpose for which we issued the decision, look, Nkabi Afadate is equally involved in this issue. And these are all people within the MP. You know, former ministers, former chairman, national chairman of our party, now board chairman of GNPC. The question one will ask, why the MPP acted? Because already their fingers pointing to the party functionaries deeply involved in this. And we are trying to do away with this kind of allegations. Our communicators are all over trying to dispel this kind of news. And lo and behold, the national chairman becomes the defense counsel for these people. How do you just justify this? That's the point AFA is putting across.
And I just want to go back to and I just want to go back to the statement you released before coming on air. In your statement, and I just want to pick up on some of the wording and framing that you use. You're describing this, for instance, as a slap on the president's fight against illegal mining. So let's get to it. First of all, you're indicating clearly that you're scandalized and actually dumbfounded by the decision of Freddie Blay, the immediate past national chairperson of the New Patriotic Party, to legally represent some of these aspects. Then you go ahead that as much as you appreciate the fact that Freddie Blay is a lawyer who obviously has that duty to represent clients, all of these things, you believe that the decision to defend the accomplices of Aisha Huang is unpopular, and I'm actually quoting from your words, unpopular, morally subversive, and a direct slap on the face of President Akufo-Addo's fight against illegal mining. Some say that the president has already thrown in the towel. He's considered that the fight against illegal mining hasn't been easy. Some even go ahead to say, well, he's lost the fight. So I'll ask you on that. And then there's the point where you're claiming that Freddie Blay's political standing, his social status vis-a-vis being the former national chairperson of the ruling party and a board chairperson of GNPC imposes some sort of obligation of due diligence, moral reflection, and the principle of public perception on him to consider such a level of public interest in the Aisha Huang case. Indeed, the level of environmental degradation caused by activities of illegal mining, particularly foreign nationals who have no regard for the laws of Ghana on mining, cannot be overemphasized. So these are some of the concerns you're raising. So I just want to pick up on the issue about how morally subversive the concerns are, and then come back to the demands that you're making. If you are saying that, of course, Freddie Blay, giving his standing as a public officer, should not do that, then who else would? Because in the end, you still have a Ghanaian representing all of these Chinese nationals in court. So it's as though you're just concerned about the fortunes of your political party. Is that not the case?
All right, let me give you a scenario. I believe you have someone representing multimedia. So another person presses charges against multimedia. Instead of the person coming to your defense, you rather decide with the person to press charges against multimedia. Definitely, but naturally, you know that the person is working. But to some yet, but you expect that the interest of multimedia should be at heart of that person. Equally, someone Freddie Blay should know that, much as I'm a lawyer, but it's public interest case. That appellate position, and when you say executive position, the NPP runs the executive chairmanship position, and that's the position he's occupied. And as a board chairman, whatever he's doing is in furtherance that the party succeeds, so that at least going forward, Ghanaians will favorably look at the party. But whatever you are doing, and it turns around to if kind of have a negative impact on the party, and yet you claim to be a political person or you belong to that party, it will sound weird to any right-thinking person. So, to me, you see, your question still boils down to the fact that I'm picking from what you are trying to say there. Chairman's Blay firm is not the only firm we have in Ghana, whereby it becomes mandatory that they have to act for the Chinese corporates in there. That is not the case. Now, 2001, why Chairman Blay is a firm? And Chairman Blay himself, before taking up this issue, should have sat through and then gone through a lot of this thing. Thorough thinking to this that, okay, I have the right to defend them as an attorney or a legal practitioner, but to what end? That the government I belong to, the government I serve as a national chairman, fighting, using every resources to fight the Galamsey issue. Lo and behold, I go and defend these people. Remember that when you defend them and they come out, you are giving more impetus to others that when you do and then you are caught, you can get a good representation and people within the government circles to come out and defend you. So what impression are we putting out there? And I don't think your assertion that the president has thrown in the towel is anything I'll go with, because the president was in Kumasi recently, Ashanti region, to meet the Council of Chiefs and some of his MMDCs, and you heard the language, the demeanor of the president, strong wording, and he told them point blank that he's not threatening them, but should any case come to him, he'll be forced and then is thoroughly investigated. The person is likely to lose his or her position. That should tell you how serious the president is. And the president who is throwing a towel on Galamsey Park will not go meeting appointees and then putting strong warnings before them that the action or actions I'm likely to take against you should be complicit in the act. And remember, one MC or the DC happened to the Jubilee House to come and answer to questions. So that should tell you that the fight is not lost.
Come on. Your group is being accused of being overly fixated on Freddie Blay. Take a look at defense for Aisha Huang herself. This is someone who is a former government appointee, served in the Interior Ministry. You were silent at the time we had lawyer Efadate come to the defense. I recall him speaking on this show, jump to the defense of Aisha Huang. You're very quiet about that. So why come out now when Freddie Blay is simply doing what many believe is in line with his profession? He's a lawyer.
The fact that you've not read any statement from us is not suggestive of the fact that we were sort of what Captain Kabete was saying there. You get it? It's everything has what we call time and season. So when you sit and do the analysis, you look at, just as I told you, look at how many weeks on end that we are discussing the Galamsey issue. Galamsey has been in this country for decades. But look at now the attention the media, I believe some years ago or so, you wouldn't have given Galamsey issue a topical, it wouldn't be topical on your news item. But today it is. And to the fact that as you are sitting there, should someone accuse you of indulging in Galamsey today, it basically be a negative tag on you. You want to do all that you can within your power to purge yourself of that. So it tells you the dynamics that we found ourselves in, and for which AFA had to come at this time. So the timing shouldn't be of a problem at all.
Yeah, but you're still silent. You're still silent. You agree? You're still silent on the issue about lawyer Efadate. You're not speaking about him. This is a stalwart of the New Patriotic Party.
And I'm saying that the fact that you've not read anything from APA, it's not suggestive of our silence. And this coming, you hear things from APA. It has started just rolling, so take it as that for now.
Okay,
we are going to try collaborative effort of our government to make sure that.
Right. So let's look at the remedial measures now. Let's look at the remedial measures now. Come on, the issue about the way forward. What's your demand from the New Patriotic Party, and exactly what are you asking the new leadership? Of course, Chairman Blay is no longer the New Patriotic Party chair. What's your demand from the current crop of executives leading your party?
And I think one of the suggestions some APA will make to the new leadership is to put before Mr. President, just as every Galamsey side falls within a jurisdiction of an MMDC, to put it. So there is no Galamsey activity now, and they are in charge of the DISEG or municipal security. They are in charge of it. So there is no way a Galamsey activity will be ongoing, and NMC will claim to be in know of it. So I would suggest that they should put their jobs online. Once the news of it come out, the president should not entertain it, fire you. Once that thing begins, I can tell you, it will be curtailed. Definitely, if you cannot even kind of totally stop it, but at least it will totally make a certain extent. So that is some of the one of the recommendations we'll put up. And then when you look at chiefs are also involved in this, and some of them claim that they will just, and then people will come with letters from Minerals Commission to their jurisdiction, and then they'll just show you to them that they have the legal right to mine. So I think there should be some kind of linkage where the Minerals Commission, the Municipal Assembly, and the chiefs can come together before somebody comes there to mine. The chiefs are already in the know. The assembly is as well briefed before the person comes, and they know the exact site, because some people take the permit and then they go and use it other illegal.
So finally, since your statement was on Freddie Blay, what are we to expect if we don't have him taking a backseat in this whole Aisha Huang case? What do you intend to do? Is there any petition coming through? What's the next line of action?
Officially, after we petition Chairman Blay and call on him that he should look at the interests of the party and the government he's serving, and he should know that the key fight now for the president is the Galamsey issue, and the president has put his presidency on. He shouldn't be one of the people. He should be one of the people who help the president to succeed, and not be one actor in the Galamsey fight that will help derail the efforts of the president. That's what we say.
Anyway, and we'll be on the lookout for that petition. Kamal Bruni, thank you for your time here on The Pulse. Time now to focus on education. A lot's happening there because the Ministry of Education says, although there are some disruptions in the food supply chain for senior high schools across the country, immediate steps are being taken to address the situation. Take a look at this. That's the video that's been going viral. And of course, the assurances are definitely coming in that wake of this fresh reports that we're getting that there are obviously an imminent shutdown which will be happening in the coming days in relation to senior high schools, owing to the fact that students are poorly fed on campus. So the footage you have now has since gone viral on social media to suggest that there is indeed some form of a reduction in the quantity of food and also protein given to students on campus. In fact, some parents are actually asking government at this point to immediately consider measures that will address the situation. So definitely what we'll do is that we'll be getting the concerns of parents shortly. Meanwhile, the Education Ministry is actually denying that report that schools are about to shut down. In fact, it says that it has the situation under control. So let's bring you excerpts of that statement released by the Ministry of Education earlier today. And there you have it on the screens, indicating that the Ministry of Education has noted with surprise the news publications and media discussions which purport an imminent closure of some senior high schools due to the shortage of food. Specific reference were actually made to some schools in the Volta region. The ministry actually wishes to place on record that our checks reveal adequate supply of food items have been made to these schools in question. Now, the Ministry of Education, however, takes cognizance of the fact that although there are some disruptions in the food supply chain, some steps are being taken to address the concerns. The ministry wishes to assure the public of its commitment and willingness in providing a quality and timely supply of food items to all senior high schools, and we entreat the public to disregard such reports. So let's take a listen to the Education Ministry PRO. The Deputy PRO has been speaking and giving some updates at the ongoing Education Week.
The media was reporting of food shortage, and what was surprising was that we had within the week engaged with CHARS, Regional Directors of Education, Buffer Stock Outfit, the free SHS coordinators, who actually picked data on the ground. So when we heard of the news, we were astonished. So we needed to do a check on the grounds whether there could be any affirmation to what we are hearing within the media space. But it turned out to be negative. And then the media, produced a letter dated 30th September, purporting to be coming from the Volta region about a seeming food crisis within the schools, specifically from Avetime. And the statement, what the letter purported to say was that within a week from that end, if they don't see any change, they have no option than to close the school down. So we know from our outfit that just last week, consignment of food were sent to the various regional buffer stock outfit for onward delivery to the schools. And we know from the information, from the reports, from the engagement from CHARS, when we talk of CHARS, we are referring to the headmasters, giving us up-to-date information as to what they have received and how it is being used. So we weren't expecting that news from the media. All of a sudden, it sprang on us. And that is why we came out with that statement. And let me put it on record again. There is no food shortage in any secondary school in this country. There is no food shortage in any secondary school in this country. We've given enough for the period. What we are doing now is every 2 weeks, we do send food to the various schools. So that has been the plan for the past 1 month. So it will be a surprise to us that a region or a school will complain of food shortage. And I want the general public to be assured that everything that we must do to create conducive atmosphere for teaching and learning is what we are focusing on. And one critical aspect within our secondary school space has got to do with feeding. We will feed our kids morning, afternoon, evening.
So let's put all of these claims to a test. Joining me in studio now is Yao Poku Mensah, Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Education, joining us. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to The Pulse. It's been a busy week for the Ministry of Education. We're in the Education Week, and then this footage has gone viral on social media. It's caused you to actually respond to provide some update on what you're doing to deal with food shortage in senior high schools. You say that immediate steps are being taken to address the situation, and I heard you there in the video talking about last week some deployments that have been made in terms of food items to various schools across the country. What official reports do you have on how far the distribution has gone, and are you able to give us some data on that?
What currently pertains on the ground is what we distributed, and I can tell you on authority, specifically with the school, that the name that came out, specifically with a letter which was...
Have you identified the school in the first place?
Yeah,
we know about the school.
The media
right.
showed some letters.
Okay, right.
I, for one, it's Alavenyo Senior High School.
In the Volta region. Okay, right.
And the letter is dated 30th September. That was where the 13 there was issued. But within that space up to now, where we haven't heard of any closure of schools within our space, it tells within the period that we set for ourselves, every 2 weeks we do review. We do take responses from heads of schools per the association, that is the child's outfit, from the regional to the national outfit. And we take reports from regional directors, regional free SHS coordinators, plus buffer stock outfit on what we are doing. So by the close of the week, within the 2 week interval, the minister will summon that meeting together with GS officials and GT vet officials to give us an up-to-date report as to the full situation.
Okay, so what you deployed last week was in response to what exactly?
No, it's a normal thing that we do. Okay. It's a normal thing that we do.
Yeah, but do you have reports? Because you agree with me, this is not the first time we're having this report of shortage in schools, and I'm sure that that has also come to your attention. Charles, about 3 months ago or 2 months ago, was raising similar concerns about the buffer stock and some shortage within the system. So if we're having this consistent sort of reportage, what do you have, I mean, in terms of evidence from your suppliers that indeed the food stock is going to the various schools that you've deployed?
We are on the ground ourselves. The free SHS outfit, which is a secretariat, is on the ground themselves, and they come out with these reports. Okay. And for example, just some 2-3 weeks ago, Free SHS Secretariat sent a team outfit to Volta region to ascertain what actually was the issue in there. And we got the understanding what the issues are.
Okay, so tell me about the issues, because once we identify the issues, we'll be able to effectively solve them.
Yes.
Is it lack of due diligence on the part of your officers, or what exactly is the case?
No, that is why in the interaction I said that we were astonished at the report which were coming out. And surprisingly, when we got to know the letter was dated somewhat, and what we have done shouldn't even have warranted what was in the media. But what occasion that I can't speak to it. But the assurance is that if you go across the length and breadth of the country, in every secondary school in this country, there are enough that has been given out just last week. And it's not as if I was being reported to that I should go and speak on this. I was in that meeting. I heard reports that came from the regional directors plus regional charge presidents. And they were giving information as to what has been supplied, and buffer stock was telling them what was on the way coming, that they have to go to their designation point to take these goods. And that has been the consistent practice now, because the minister is a parent, and it will sadden his heart that he sent his ward to school, and the next minute it's being reported that he's being starved to what? Starved to death. And that is what we cannot entertain. That is why it became prudent that every 2 weeks we need to meet. Let us see what actually it is pertaining and what we can do immediately.
If there's something that the ministry is not, opening up on, it's the fact that you've been criticized kind of centralizing this whole food distribution system. The belief is, I mean, give it back to the heads of the various institutions. It will make the process much more easier.
That is not the case. What the ministry, through the implementation of the free SHS, was done. Or for example, if let's say you had the only royal school in Ghana, which is Osechuche Senior High School, you are the headmaster. Now, the system was that the supplier that was supplying with these items, we don't change them. You bring your own supplier. What the only change is that payment is done at the central level. So 70% of the food, 18 items, which are 18 our schools, 30% for perishables, and the other aspect has got to do with where buffer stock supplies. For example, the milks, the rice, etc., comes from buffer stock outfit, and the supplier that you know is what buffer stock deals with. So it's not as if we have taken. The only difference is that the money isn't in your hands to be going to the market to be looking for these items. Your duty as a head is to stay in the school, do that management aspect so that we can have better learning outcomes. And that is what has resulted in the 2-year running, the results that we see. And we want to deepen it to have a better outcome than the 2 that we are seeing currently. So we don't want anything to be on the shoulders of the head to be thinking as to what to do. You are there, the food is supplied, you manage the school, that you give the outcome that is deserving of the school that you headed. So that has been the practice. Nothing has changed within that. For example, if you go to the dining, I believe when you were in school, secondary school, you were entitled to 2 ladders. You were paid, but you were entitled to 2 ladders, true or false?
I don't intend to go into that right now.
I was entitled to.
Okay, maybe that's your school.
No, when I was in a school,
maybe that's your school.
I was entitled to 2 ladders.
Right.
That is what pertains in our secondary schools.
So you're saying these students, I mean, they should just keep up with the 2?
No. For a table, 12 also, then at time 12 also, we were paying. 12 also, we sit around the table, there's a table head, probably a senior who does the
same. So you know about the situation.
Yes.
Sometimes you may not get the 2. But the challenge, I mean, what's unique about this video that we have is that if you take a look at the video, I mean, the quantity of the food has reduced.
No. Take a critical look at the video again.
Right.
You get to realize that this is more than 2 ladders. This is more than 2 ladders.
I mean, so we have the video on the screen. Just look at this. I mean,
just look at this.
Yeah. I mean, look at the quantity of the food. Look at this. Look at this.
But
this is reality dawning on the Ministry of Education. You're simply not accepting the fact that
is not the case.
Yes, we're facing some challenge in terms of the supply.
When we were paying,
right? Look at and just look at the protein. Just look at that.
Wait. But no, you need to understand what is in the book.
No, that's it. That's what we're seeing. Just look at it yourself.
This. Do you remember what was termed as rice gas? Do you remember that food, rice gas?
Yeah.
So were you receiving?
No, but at least look at the protein. Look at the fish.
It tells you that this table is lucky.
But this is the video.
It tells you that this table is lucky. Why? Because probably the fish that was used in preparing the stew, this table finds itself to have probably an aspect of part of the fish in there, and that is what it tells you, that it is not a senior who will take that fish away as his own. So generally,
I don't recall taking this in senior high school. I need to state the facts.
But I'm not sure
you also recall taking this in senior high school.
No, I don't recall taking rice gas while I was given a fish. I don't recall that.
In your senior high school?
Yeah, that is what pertains. That is what pertains.
But okay.
So there are food items that goes with either fish or meat. Within that space, or sardine, you get the full complement of what you deserve.
And I need to ask you about the investigation. When you carried out the investigation, what were you told about what we're witnessing in that video? What were you told about that?
No, specifically, we haven't looked at this video. I just saw it, this video. I think I saw it a couple of days ago.
Yes.
So I needed to understand actually what was happening in this.
Yes.
So that is why I'm able to tell you that when we were in school, we were eating what we described as rice gas. And within that rice gas, that protein element wasn't part of what we were fed. But what I know is that any food item which comes with either fish, sardine, or meat or chicken, is given out, or egg is given out to the student. So if we are to use this as a test case to generalize it, then I think we are pressing the panic button of that shouldn't be the case.
You feel so?
Yes, strongly I feel so. Because you know what? I'm not just speaking for the Ministry of Education. I'm a practitioner of the policies that they roll out. I just came out from the classroom. I was in the senior high school. I know what pertains in there. I visited dining halls. I know what is served at the staff common room. The same food that the kids eat. Teachers eat same. So I'm able to speak to the video that I see that this is what they are eating. That is what we in our olden days termed as rice gas. And we're not, it wasn't as if everybody, the 12 was entitled to a fish. Probably that table was lucky to have that portion of fish dropped into their stew. And they are as fair, all members of the table should benefit from it. And that is basically what they are doing. If the camera had gone to the other table, you get to realize that they wouldn't have found any fish in any table again. So we need to understand that. But my difficulty has got to do with the generalization of what we are describing.
You feel it's not fair for this to be the verdict?
It's very unfair. It's very unfair. Over 600 and something senior high schools, we can take our cameras to visit them and see what do they eat. Does it correspond to what we are watching? Or when do you eat fish? When do you eat meat? When do you eat egg? When do you eat chicken? Then we can come back to fairly conclude that.
But it is instructive to note that even in your own statement, the statement you issued, you clearly pointed out that there are some disruptions in the food supply chain.
Definitely.
Okay, so what's the gap in terms of the food supply chain?
You know what? As I indicated, I said 18 different food items are served in the schools. Now, it's normal that 1 or 2 items may be out of stock of a school. But that does not mean that there is no food in the school. What happens is that you can't follow your normal menu just because that food item probably is missing. For example, let's say if I'm to take Tom Brown today and I don't have Tom Brown in my stock, that does not mean that I can't serve breakfast. Cocoa will be there. Milo drink will be there for me to use. So that is how the disruption that in our statement. That's
what you were pointing out.
Yes, because if one item is in there, it means that you don't have a whole until that item is replaced. That is where you can revert back to your normal.
Okay. So do we know what the Education Ministry will be doing now, going forward, giving this report and other complaints that are coming through? In fact, some of the parents earlier we caught up with were complaining. We'll bring that to you later. But it appears there's some sort of anxiety on the part of parents who want to know what the authorities will be doing in the coming days to address this.
It's what you are reporting. It is what you are reporting. That is why I said that we don't need to press the panic button. It is what you are. If I'm a parent and I begin to hear stories of there is no food in school, I'll get worried. Now, what parents normally do is to place a call to either the housemaster or the formmaster. Is this true? And the verdict is given out, though that is not the case. But again, you've never reported that in the morning, students were denied breakfast. Afternoon, they were denied lunch, or evening they were denied something.
Yeah, but you should be mindful of quality as well. This is a school we're talking about. So
I'm very careful.
I'm not sure you would want to downplay the quality as well. It's also equally important when the conversation comes up.
Dietitians sit and plan the menu that is served within our various senior high schools.
Yes.
They make sure that the items that they take are balanced diet. Probably you're thinking of what protein pertains.
Right.
It's not what they look at. For example, you'll be comfortable.
So in this video, you have a fair representation
You'll be comfortable probably with a meat, but the dietitian will tell you no. There is an aspect of meat, protein. Dawa probably is more nutritious than what we are.
Yeah, but in this video, there's no dawa. I don't see dawa.
No, I'm giving you examples of protein.
Okay.
But again, I think just one day, just follow me up to a secondary school. Let's go. Because minister normally visits schools unannounced. I've been with him on different trips. We go to a school unannounced. And then by the time the headmaster realizes, or whoever manages the kitchen, minister will be sitting and be eating the food with the kids. Why is he doing that? Just to have a fair-hand information as to what actually is served in our schools. And none of them, I believe you've seen some of the pictures. None of them. You get in there, you see the excitement around the faces of these young learners, and so that is why I get worried when I begin to hear reports of there is shortage. Yes, we do acknowledge that one or two items may be out of stock in a particular school, but that cannot be generalized. That in our secondary schools, there's no food, and schools are going to close.
Right. So let's broaden the conversation now. I want to bring in the Free Senior High School because we're equally in the Education Week. You launched that with an address by the Senior Minister, Yao Safumafo. Then he brought up the issue about the IMF conditionalities and the possibility that the Free Senior High School policy may be affected. He says government is still negotiating and will ensure that no aspect of the policy is touched or changed, even in the wake of the austerity plan. Is government having that fear, or the ministry having that fear, that the policy may have to be reformed in the wake of the economic crisis that we have?
No, I think it's an assurance statement that the senior minister gave out to the good people of Ghana. Because again, you sit around your TV or radio, there'll be a discussion. People will review free SHS, it's so huge. Government can't pay. Why don't you take that out of your budget to free space for other development? Then government will have to assure the good people of Ghana that this particular intervention that we see as the transformational leg to wherever this nation aspires to be, that should be protected. So once the conversation keeps going, that you need government to assure the good people that that is not what we are doing. And that is basically what the senior minister did. I believe in education, that education should be the transformational leg for where government, the destination that Ghana wants to get to, especially looking at the current reform that is emanating from our outfit. You look at STEM, you look at the introduction of TVET, where we have a standalone agency for TVET, invested over 1 billion Ghana cedis to ensure that we have enough equipment within our TVET space to train our young people for the world of work. STEM again, bringing out innovation and critical thinking aspect within our learning space. Then if you are doing all these, you ask yourself to what end? Remember, when we talk of education, education seeks to train 3 domains, the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor. That is what makes you the whole individual fit within the sociological system that you do.
All this you're saying is fine, but then the economy is staring the policy in the face.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you are a father, this is what we do, even not a direct question to you. Parents are ready to sell their cloth to pay the fees of their ward. Why? Why do they do that? When especially they don't even have money to feed, but they want to sell their item, precious items, to ensure that their children do have befitting and better education. Why? Because we are looking into the future. The old generation are going. What does the future hold for us? It is now that we need to start. And we can only go as far as where others, our colleagues, started from and where they've got into. That can only be achieved.
In fact, this statement will be welcomed in the context of the Free Senior High School if it were the case that access is open to every single Ghanaian child. But you know, and the figures will speak to it, that you haven't completed the leg of access. So now we're still having lots of people who are not able to go into senior high schools simply because of the issue of access. So you do agree that there's some challenge there. It's not as though, yes, it's free, the policy is free, but access remains a key challenge. That's a fact that you cannot deny as the Ministry of Education in this rollout of the free SHS.
Here you need to look at the numbers as to what used to be the situation then and now. Before the implementation of free SHS, you could get an average 120,000 students who get the opportunity but wouldn't go. Others are denied on the basis that there is no space for you. Currently, what is the situation? The situation is that whoever do qualify do have that space to go and sit in the classroom to learn, either in the TVET space or either in the grammar secondary school space. So government in itself, looking at the access, has expanded a lot. It's got to do with, for example, you get the opportunity, we cannot force you to go to school. It becomes a personal decision, plus your family, whether you want to continue within that aspect or not. So with access, we've been able to expand that scope. And that number that you talked about, so many people, that is where you have to. I think you look at the numbers as well. One, others probably may travel, 1 or 2 issues, etc. But the numbers, the 120,000 that we used to know, reduced to 20,000, 35,000. Then it tells you that government is making huge achievements. So if we want to deepen the numbers, then we need to deepen the education.
I'll use the word of Kofi Asare, the Africa Education Watch. He was here earlier this week at the start of the Education Week. He says that government is quote-unquote obsessed with the free senior high school policy. You're not welcoming fresh ideas to improve the policy. And obviously, that's not healthy for the system.
So that is why we have an Education Week. Now, Education Week is an opportunity for all stakeholders, including civil society organizations, implementers of the policy, staff of the ministry, the minister himself, deputy ministers, and directors of all other agencies, to sit around the table, conforming to your KPIs, giving report as to what we are doing, how we are achieving them, and what can be done to better the system. And becomes an open forum. Just before I left there, it was an open forum. We were taking reports from regional directorate. They tell us what they are doing there, the challenges therein, and what can be done to salvage the situation. So every year it becomes a refresh page for us to look at what we did, what can be done to achieve moving forward. So basically, this is a platform that anybody, and it's open to the general public, including civil society organizations. Yesterday I was with Peter Anti, and they do presentation of papers. They go into groups to do group work, analyze what pertains within the space and what can be added on. And it will interest you to come and listen to the ideas, even from students themselves. Students are participating. Just before I left, a student was asking about sexual harassment in relation to guidance and counseling issues. And all these are embraced as part of what we want to see next academic year. Then we put all these together and it becomes a working plan for the ministry, for the implementing agencies to work with. So this is a platform. Parents are invited, students are invited, the general public plus the media. You can come and share your ideas. You can come and listen to what is happening. But at times, please let us stop pressing the panic button within the media space.
Well, I'm not sure if it's JoyNews, but anyway, Yao Pokumensa is Deputy Spokesperson for the Ministry of Education, speaking to us here on the concerns you've seen. But this afternoon as well, staff of Metro Mass Transit Limited are equally calling for immediate measures and the immediate removal of the Managing Director and 2 deputies for what they term as gross incompetency in running the company. According to the workers, monthly deductions of their welfare contributions and loan repayment deductions at source are in arrears to the tune of some 300,000 Ghana cedis. My colleague Michael Ni Ashale has been engaging some of the workers. We can listen.
I mean, these are scenes from Kandeshi Pamprom, the Metro Mass Transit Limited bus terminal here, and this is the head office. And what you are seeing is an action from junior and senior staff who are declaring an indefinite strike, a sit-down strike here over a number of issues. One of them, and what they tell me is the biggest of all, is that they haven't been paid equitably or fairly in the last 4 years since 2018. They tell me again their salaries have delayed for months, and yet nothing has been said by management. They are grieved, they are unhappy, and they tell me this action is happening nationwide. More than 2,000 members of the Metro Mass Transit staff have declared an indefinite strike. Yeah, let me speak to some of the staff on how bad this really is for them here. Sir, if I may talk to you, I mean, you are one of the aggrieved staff, right? I mean, how bad is this situation for you? How long have you been paid?
It's very worst. It's very worst. So we can't say that's what all that they have said. This situation we have now is very worst. That's all that I can say. It's very worst.
But for you personally, how bad is it? I mean, in your work, in your dealings with the Metro Mass, how bad is it for you, Mr. Tego?
We are working, but the condition we are is very bad, very worst. That's all that I can see.
How things are going, I think maybe we have to step up our game.
I see. So they talk about salaries not being paid. For how long has this been going on?
Oh, for me, let me say, for last 3 months I've received my salary, but last month I've never received my salary. So I'm hoping maybe in due process, yeah, I'll receive it maybe.
Do you think this action is very necessary, a sit-down strike?
Yeah, the best way to communicate with your leaders, at least if the understanding is not going, at least a strike is another opportunity to also communicate with them. So sit down is also necessary.
I mean, they have some placards that they are putting up here. Remember, this one says that transfer entire management from head office, Mr. Yeboah, Mr. Obin, Mr. Otu, etc. They are asking, I want to believe, for the removal of their top management. This one here said this management cannot provide for anything. They have listed 5 of them: tires for buses, fuel for buses, that is 40 liters, spare parts, salaries, and the provident funds. They tell me that a lot more than that. So they are still putting some of these up. They are telling me they are on a sit-down strike. They're not going to work anytime. So, Bossman, Patrick Frozen. Okay, great. But Udianka said
Abdul Jalil.
Abdul Jalil. Okay, Abdul. How bad is this for you? How long have you two been paid?
For a year. I can't speak English, but I speak and ski. Now I come here 2011. Since I come here from 2018, a better small, but now we condemn. No movement, no anything.
Wow. I mean, you list. You list a number of things.
You know what you say? Our leaders here, something like MJ, JMG, or they don't want to see them.
Why is it I don't want to see them?
They don't go feel handle the work for us.
What do they do that as staff you don't like?
I beg, my wife called me, Makaya, but my wife said.
So what all that we want from the government, we don't want any politicians to come here again. He should not bring anybody. He should give it to the white people. Else he should approach to us. We will appoint him. We'll show him the people who are working here almost 20 good years. They can manage this company simple way, and this company will move forward.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I mean, when they talk about some buses not being in very good conditions, these buses that sit here are the perfect example of what you see. Some of them have been grounded. Even some of them, I don't think will be movable anytime soon here. So you can see that these are supposed to be tires that's supposed to be changed on these buses, but that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment here. So this bus, you definitely can see that the rim is damaged.
Also the concern of Metro Mass staff. So let's broaden the conversation and get the exact concerns. Joining us now is Amos George. He is the divisional chairperson of the Senior Staff Union. We also have Apia Anthony. He's secretary to the Senior Staff Union. You're welcome, gentlemen. And we also do, I must state, have labor consultant Austin Game joining us via Zoom. So he will be helping us with the technicalities of the matter. George, Anthony, who do I start off with? Let me start off with Anthony, because just this afternoon, after that protest, we are getting reports that some of you are being called by authorities or supervisors over this decision to lead your colleagues on this demonstration. Exactly how bad is the situation for which you have to do what you did earlier today?
Thank you very much. So bad. I don't know the kind of words I can use to describe it. Right. So bad. It's all about our welfare.
Right.
You know, the work have its own challenges, but we are using our welfare as a basis to tell the whole world that Metro Mass need to be salvaged. Because by next month to come, 2 to come, 3 to come, there won't be any Metro Mass.
Okay, so when you say welfare, that's generic. So what are some of the outstanding welfare matters that management is not dealing with? A reason for which you want to draw government's attention?
And examples I'll give you.
Right.
Every worker at welfare, since 2018, your pension scheme tier 2, tier 3 have not been paid. Workers, as we speak, 3 months, 3 good months have not received any salary. Though you come to work, do what you're supposed to do, but it's not been paid.
What official explanations did management give as a result of this delayed payment of salaries?
The reason why we are staging this exercise is that we want the owners of the workers to know the company, to know the situation.
And by this you're referring to government.
Government.
Okay.
Because there's no communication at all.
You're not being told anything at all as to why there's delayed payment.
So management will wait. Okay. Reason best to them. Little agitations will start. Then they will bring something out. Due to insufficient money, wait, will pay you this day. Sometimes section of workers will be picked and be paid. So the guys,
so they are paying some secretly. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I've been referred to.
That's something you're picking up. That is happening. Some of your colleagues.
Something that is happening. So the guys up to date. Sorry, I'm talking about a section of
your colleagues.
My colleagues is paid.
So they have received theirs.
Yes.
Okay.
What happens is that when they see that the system is becoming somehow agitated, they will see a section where that agitation is coming from. And
then settle them. But what is the number that we're dealing with? And I'll come to you, George, shortly. In terms of, have you been able to put a number to it as to some of your members who are being affected as a result of this delayed payment of salaries?
It's total.
So that's for the senior staff or junior staff, everybody together.
Both senior and junior.
Everybody has an issue. Okay, so we'll get into the other aspects shortly with you. I know there are issues about Senate, for instance, or some other payments that were supposed to be there, Provident Fund and all of that. So we'll get into it, but I want to bring in George as well. And George, the argument has been made, which I need your response to. This argument has been made that, well, if you take a look at, for instance, your company and its setup, you have a fleet of just about over 100 buses, right? Over 130 buses. And yet your staff strength is over 2,000. So the system is choked. I'm sure you've heard that argument.
Okay, so let me start by saying His Excellency President Adanado did well in 2017 when he assumed the office. He gave us 84 Hongai buses. In 2018, he gave us 50 Daewoo buses. In 2020, he gave us additional 49 Daewoo buses. Just August this year, he commissioned 45 new VDL buses. So Anado is trying as much as possible to augment our fleet almost every time, almost any time. And they are even making arrangements that by the end of the year, we'll get additional 55. Now, the issue about Metro Mass. When Mr. Albert Edubuaine assumed office as MD, we were running a little over 400 buses. So, with 400 buses, at least 400 buses, plus 50, 49, and 45, we would be somewhere. If by this time, after 5 years or 4 years and some months, we are running a little over 130 buses, it means they are not prudent management of the resources that are available to Metro Mass. And who would you blame? Leadership. So if we say, or we are asking the president to deal with the removal of the MD, then these are some of the things, the reasons why.
But some would say he's coming in to sanitize the system because you're too much. So some have to go, we need to allow the system to operate at optimum level as a business. What's your take on that?
Coming in how to...
but because the argument is that you're more than the fleet that we have. What do you think about the numbers?
That is what I'm saying. If you look at the progression, we were using about 400 buses in 2018. We had additional buses after those periods. So if you look at the progress, the rate at which we are deteriorating, then it means there is something wrong with the management of Metro Mass. If we had strategic business ideas being injected into Metro Mass, I don't think by now we'll be running this number of fleets to complain about the number of buses or the number of staff staff to bus ratio. You understand?
So practically, what would be the solution? And I just want to get that answer from you. What would be the difference if you have the MD of Metro Mass dismissed by the president? What change will happen? I mean, what will be the difference anyway? Because the new manager who would come will still definitely need some time to pay your salaries.
Definitely. We are not saying
yeah, so what would change?
That will come would do an overnight magic. But the issue is that now, as we stand, there is no coordinated effort between the executive. There is no coordinated effort to build the company. The only thing we see is a one man person who is issuing instructions based on emotions and sentiment. And we think that you cannot lead a company like this based on your emotions.
You feel that three of them still have issues?
Definitely.
So there's infighting, even at the other managerial level.
Yes.
How are you able to determine that? What evidence do you have as a group to point to?
The only time we see the three of them on one front is when there are problems with staff. If they have to find a way to punish staff, that is the only time you would see a memo coming from the admin but when it comes to welfare of staff, those memos don't come.
Do you agree that by now we should be rolling out some sort of reintegration of Metro Mass Limited into the other forms of state transport corporations that we already have? Is that an idea that you welcome?
At a point in the history of Metro Mass, we wanted to even acquire STC. We wanted to bring STC to be part of Metro Mass.
You were that efficient at it?
Yes. So if by that time...
And this was which year? Around which year?
Oh, it was, let me say, around 2010, thereabouts.
Okay.
Between
so about 10 years ago, you were fully functional, and so you felt that at the time you were efficient enough to take over STC.
If you check the history, at that time STC was somewhat down. So
but now the reverse is the case.
The reverse is the case. And let's ask ourselves, what has STC done over the period? Now, almost everywhere across the country, STC, where they were previously operating, they are extending. They are establishing more terminals. But Metro Mass, the reversal is the case of Metro Mass. And I think if we don't do anything about it now, we would have problems. If we had a little over 400 buses around 2018, and now we are running less than or somehow 130 buses, then tell me where we'll be in the next.
Okay. So, Anthony, let's talk about the way forward and what are the likely steps for you as a group, knowing that at least you've put out your concern. I'm sure that you'll be taking some more steps.
Okay. I think once we want the owners to get to know the problem.
Right.
Because another side of what we are talking about is that we feel that there's a problem.
Okay.
By the appropriate quarters that's supposed to know those problems,
they are not aware. That's the first issue, right?
So when they get the problems,
then you can sit down and talk about it.
Then they will investigate what we are saying. I know the other side too will be bringing their
representatives.
Yes.
But ever since you declared that strike, right?
Sure.
Have you heard from them, and is there any indication that, well, you may be meeting in the coming days? Have you?
You know what happened?
Okay.
Before this resolution I'm holding got to our national secretariat.
Okay.
Not even nothing.
So this is the resolution.
This is the resolution. I will
give me a copy. Right.
When we finish.
Right. So before this got to,
I and my chairman were given an interdiction before the resolution even got to the authority. So at the moment we are on interdiction. So
really?
Yes, and even this afternoon, as we are
all of you are on interdiction.
4 members of the divisional executive is on. This is a reminder they just issue. Whilst even the action is taken.
And this is because of, and I just want to read portions. Maybe the cameras will capture this shortly. But it appears that what you're telling us now is that you've been interdicted. So let me see. This is, for instance, to George Imprim. This is your letter.
I have said,
and you also have as the leaders of the union.
Yes.
And it says that reference is made to your letter. They refer to the letter dated October 10 in respect of the above subject. The fact that you're reminded that you're officially on interdiction until same is lifted. You are expected to comply with the interdiction regulations, which amongst other things require that you report twice weekly to your supervisor until otherwise. Whilst you're on interdiction, you have no business performing any official duty or participating in activities of the company, especially when such activities have direct impact on the operations of the company. So this is signed by Eric Otu. Eric Otu is a human resource director. So this is the letter, right?
Yes.
Right. George, what do you have to say to this?
You see, if you can even see Bogatanga, so I'm not supposed to be in Accra. How Bogatanga came in, I won a union election on 3rd of June, an election that has been coordinated by the Human Resource Department. On 3rd of June, I won the election. Then on the 10th of June, I received a transfer letter to Boga, all in the name of, if I come as a union chairman, I'll worry some people who are in affairs, and I don't get it. You coordinated the election. If you wanted me, if you had plans for me to be in another branch, then you should have drew my attention to it. But I don't win an election, and you give me a transfer letter to another branch. And all these things are schemes of intimidation and the fact that someone cannot talk. You see, if you look at the resolutions that we came up with, the deductions are over 5 years. But we've been quiet all this time. So someone would ask, why are we talking now?
There's a legal implication. Do you intend to pursue that in court, by the way?
In fact, we would have to discuss that with our fund managers, because at the end of the day, it's not only about Amos George Imprim, it's about the staff.
The union.
There are other money, financial obligations I cannot probably be able to afford. And we don't know how the legal system can also help us or how long it will travel. So some of these things, when you are looking at it, you need to look at the pros and cons and see.
Okay, then. We need to go. Anthony, let me give you just 30 seconds. Speak directly to the employers, the ones you say gave you the job, and they need to know the true situation of what's happening at Metromas. Briefly, we need to go.
So, I want to assure our members who gave us the mandate and assisted us to draft this resolution. And the resolution is that, the end of it all is that the 3 executives of the company must leave, or all the workers leave. Until that, we want to promise them we will stay focused, devoid of insult, devoid of destruction of company
property.
We want to assure them that. And if even management give us letter to stay outside, on which I believe they will be looking for us later, we will stay outside lawfully, but the strike will coordinate it from outside to make sure, if not for us, we salvage Metromas for our generations to come.
Anyway, and we'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us, George Imprim and Anthony, for your time here on The Pulse. And after many days of flooding in the Ghana South community, of course, residents are now coming to terms with the impact of the flooding from parents and school children. Everyone has been affected. Well, my colleague Benjamin Akapo was in the community today and has been engaging some of the residents on how they've been faring in the wake of the disaster.
In the same compound at Aunt Paulina's room, and similar situation, she wasn't spared either. Let's get into her room. Agovia.
Your TV ni we obi TV kwa ndia your TV flat TV ni na nso akonya to ache ni
inti ye be ko dem ho na emo no aha no inti mattress no
kwale books na ade asese ni na tu egu we ya ndra na amanfo be che nkaka kakra bi eje ya bi da so we inside ha Bibia say.
Just say bibia.
Yeah. We Andrew and a man for I sort of I don't for my don't do me in Qualia. Ja, your baby and the payment be dash me cocoa me. Initiate TV bibia. I didn't see a one baby and so copy me. I bibia, afraid bibia say. Fred also and so. Incident, I didn't
Fridge and so I say.
So into Andrew on said I in Quafon Papa some batoto and on Betobi and ya and I bought you for no mamma says go I ain't yen fine yet. On tea some amondo me why we a chance man in Colay Cusco SS4 books in I say. So I'm trunking in Suakum on tea some mondum boy and why a stram one any dear moon.
A woman be Aquamumana na mihu secondary Aquamuman SHS.
I bema mema minu and no baba or banning Jinai. We are back on Waketa and away Aquamuman and about Coswa a Nifa. It's in Mondom wine. We man don't make Cusco, when I may, and Nama Meton, me chipwalk or crown, Nina Simon Kutugo.
As in Insuno by and Abe chef fridge.
Omudim lighting. Say and do light na program baba ntina ni na say we have friends am calling them kwese me yabosia bia akopa bi na eja wo mbako school me kakra bia anti sremo ni di mamombo ayen wa sremo pa e di ankopon ni pamcha.
So Aunt Paulina, this is her room, and as bare as you can see it, they've lost quite a lot. They've lost quite a lot, and the simple point to be made is that the floodwaters came in here, took practically everything. For her, the most important bit is that she had a freezer that she was using for her meat business, pork, fish, and all of that. It came, it went in, and of course they had to, the lights went off. So everything basically went rotten. She couldn't salvage anything. It means her means of livelihood is also gone. Now she's been forced to sell the scrap, basically, to those who come for scrap metal and all of that. There's nothing left. She has 3 children in senior high school, in Nifa, in Aquamuman, and Keta school. So basically, this is a very tricky situation for them. And she's also calling for help from whoever is going to be able to come to their aid, whether it is government, whether it is any philanthropist, whether it is any grouping that will come to their assistance. But right here, they need help. And even as we leave this compound, we'd like to know some of what they had to throw away. What happened? We'll say, mattress, because fire the kind of coche baby utugu ye nyama no be asay no inti ahaya na chese mudi nyama no gu ye
yempa boane ade yempa ne ade ani na asay inti no yetu ni negu
inti we ye wo mattress na gu ho no
mattress na da ho no ene yempa boane ade e ba ni na se na ye no yentumi enyusupem inti no ye tuni negu
na mesre biso inti no aha no o sa hanso ben mo pa mo atu egu ha no nka mo nhwe na mo yi free ha mom because aha na mo atu egu na nhwa eno so later dey asem bon
ahye se ye ba e no na nsuo na agi han na because yenya baby a be nanti akọ nti se sa dey a ye di good side nti no se nsuo no etumi atwekọ kakra na bia awia ne bo ho na ya hyeni na because utumi hwe se no akra awia ne ye wen kakra e wo mu no yetumi hye nti nsi a ne atwan se awia no beba ebebo a nsuo no betumi atwe akọ kakra na ne aka no so no yetumi ahyeni na se na ebe ya no so nkonkofa ya ha ofoforo bia enfembre wo se wa ha na ni ne fence wa yetwa ni na ni ne bu
and I think if you take a look right there, you would see the wall which actually has broken. So the point she's making to me is that they had to dump most of their property that can't be redeemed. They had to dump them right here. This water was not here. So they've been forced to, because basically the water had inundated the entire place, taken over the whole place. So they had to dump them here. It's created not the best of scenes, but when I made mention of the fact that they would have to take these away to prevent further problems in future, they mentioned that they just want the waters to recede. And when the waters recede, then they will burn all of these items. But if you look right here, they were talking about the wall that got broken, the fence wall that got broken, as they put it. And you would see clearly, if you take a look from here, you would see that portion of the wall which has broken. And that is all on the back of the power of the floodwaters, which took over this entire compound. And this is the result.
Well, my colleague Benjamin Akakpo there with the latest on how some of the residents are faring. So what measures really can be put in place to improve disaster risk management? Let's bring in now Charlotte Norman, Director for Climate Change, Department of the National Disaster Management Organization. Charlotte, is not really a great time to be talking to you, given what's happened in the Wejabawe area, but what are your expectations for this year, as of course we're going into that season where we'll be marking the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, knowing that we've witnessed some of these activities just right close to us here in the capital?
Yeah, good evening to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to share some thoughts on some of these things that we're facing in this country. And so to your question now, asking what are some of the steps or what are some of the things that we have in place, I think that we're looking at a very serious issue in this country. Now, first of all, what's going on is that, like we all know, we're all very disobedient. We're not doing the right thing, and therefore we are bearing the consequences. We're bearing the brunt of it. Not to say that there are other things that also can be done, but then let's start from ourselves. If we're able to do the right thing, some of these disasters, the hazards may come, but then the impact will be less, so that we avoid some of these sad situations that we always see almost every year.
But then you just go ahead.
There are structural measures that can be done. So we're looking at perhaps widening of drains that would lead into ultimately all the water splashing into the sea rather than staying around. But the water is staying around because the passageways have all been blocked. So this is one of the huge challenges that we have. Again, we're looking at other structures that have to be sort of pulled out of the way of the waters. Because as for the rains, they will come. Looking at climate change, they're going to get heavier, unpredictable, etc. And so we have to find ways of mitigating and adaptation to this climate change issue.
But really, how do you intend to replicate this issue about disaster risk reduction, even at the community level? Because the belief is that mostly we're doing this at the top and we're not preparing at the bottom. So where we need it most, are you deploying some measures to ensure that there's rapid response as and when it happens?
Yes, if you look at the setup of NAGBO, we have the headquarters, the national level, the regional level, the district level, and even down to the community level. And so whatever is done at the national level, for instance, it trickles down through to the regional, to the district, and ultimately to the community. Because at the end of the day, even when you say the national level, there are communities, people who are within the national level do live in community. So at the end of the day, it's the local level that is important. And so when we have things like sensitization, information sharing, when we do advocacy, whatever we have to do, we do it at that level. Because at the national level, we'll only be writing, we'll only be following protocol. But then when it comes to the real implementation, it happens at the district level. And we do deploy our staff to work at that level also.
And there's obviously the issue about logistics. Yes, you may not have every single logistic, but it's quite critical. And in fact, when we talk about supports, What forms of support would you say that is much more necessary now in reducing that risk of disaster and also going into feeding into the implementation across the country?
Well, for now, we are looking at the garage project. It's the Greater Accra Resilience Building project, which is encompassing the whole issue of disaster management, resilience building in a holistic way. Because in the beginning, we were having everybody coming in at some stage, every institution, both government and non-governmental, holding a piece of it. But then this time around, through this project, we are looking at a holistic way in which we will be able to provide the kind of resilience and the support that our people need in terms of reducing the risk of a disaster. And so the project has a portion that looks at flood early warning. So the early warning system in the country is being enhanced. GMEX is on board, hydrological services is on board, NADMO is on board, local government is on board. It's a holistic thing. We have the sanitation ministry, gender. So this time around, each organization is doing it and tying it into the next organization's role or mandate. And so we are hoping that by the end of this project, things will be much, much better in Accra. And then it will trickle down also to the other parts. But to be honest with you, when you talk about logistics, this is going to take a whole lot of money needs to go into this. And a whole lot of money is something that I think we currently do not have. So we're very happy that the project is on board. It's a $100 million project. Hopefully, once we are able to treat it as it has to be, we're going to be in a better position, especially with the perennial rains in Accra.
Thank you for your time. Charlotte Norman joining us from NADMO. Well, in terms of the wage of flooding, we've caught up with the CEO of the Ghana Water Company who's actually asking residents in the area not to encroach in the buffer zones and for those who are close enough to the dam to relocate ahead of any possible spillage that may happen in the coming days.
We cannot stop spilling. We cannot. And nobody can blame Ghana Water Company because when the dam was being built, normally to build a dam, you are looking at a river. So you are looking at your stream flow. Then because you want a pond of water to do one project or the other hydro or waters to drink or irrigation, you put a wall across the river to create impoundment of the water. And the water is supposed to build some level because the wall does not have indefinite or infinite strength.
Right. So you don't have
what level of the water that the dam wall can retain? If you go beyond that level, the dam is going to collapse. It's like you have a wall standing there. The pressure or the weakness is here, but the water is building up. If it gets to a particular level, what it does is to push it across.
So with a recent,
and the whole water.
Well, and be sure to catch a repeat or a playback of that interview here on JoyNews and all of our social media handles at JoyNews on TV and also online at myjoyonline.com. This has been The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. We'll see you again tomorrow.